Today we're going to be talking about the circus. Actually, life's circus. And if you've ever been to a circus, you generally know how it goes. You pay your ticket, you sit down, you get entertained, you're at a circus. So, let's go to the circus. But here's the thing though. I uh, I don't need to tell you this if you got an ounce worth of perception. But there's so much going on in life that basically is pretty much, circus-like. That well, you're just stupefied by it. But there's a huge difference between a circus, an actual, performing circus you go to, because it is a time duration pretty short. I mean, if you look at it in terms of your life, you've got, I don't know, a couple hours maybe, and you get through the thing and you hopefully enjoy yourself. But it can be pretty crazy and spectacular, especially if you're a little kid and you get your full of it and you want to move on. You say, okay, I've had enough of this circus. Yeah, and that's the problem because the circus of life never goes away. That's the difference. So you could try to imagine how I feel when I have witnessed the circus for many years now. And the thing is that the circus, when I am talking the entire circus of living, everything from, politics to religion, I mean, you name it. Been there, done that. And when you've been to and through the exact same circus for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it gets pretty old. Now, what's really strange, though, on top of all that, is when people much younger, you see everybody going through this and taking the circus quite seriously, as though it was really very different, when in reality, it's not. You have the same politicians, faces change, but it doesn't matter, making the same promises, which they seldom, if ever, keep. And, it goes on and on and on endlessly. Um, that nothing really changes. But because it's forced upon us by certain systems, let's say, we don't have a choice in all this. So it's put in front of us each and every day, whether we know it or not, as though it's shocking. It's new. Here's the latest development out of the Middle East. And there is none. There is none. Some days they can't stop killing each other. Then they give it a break for a little while. Then they're killing each other again. Yada, yada. Different year, different month, day in and day out. And especially in recent history, it's been that way in the Middle East ever since the establishment, well, basically just about ever since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. And guess what? Here's a news flash. It's never going to fucking change. Period. It's not. They're going to want to keep killing each other, and it's going to be violent, and it's going to be crazy, and that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be that way, at least in our lifetimes. And I I can't really call out the future, but hey, and it's the same thing with the same old shit with work and jobs and food and cost and inflation and just about anything else. Yep, doesn't end. The circus doesn't end. As they proverbially say, there's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. Now, if what I say is true, and I, of course, think it's true, but if I am correct in this, then you'd have to ask yourself the question, if you just take, what I'm saying at face value, if all that is true, then I would think a reasonably intelligent person needs to ask themselves the question, what is the point? Other than mindlessly doing the same shit over and over, endlessly, ad nauseum, forever and ever. And, as they say, expecting a different outcome ain't going to happen, Charlie. It ain't going to happen. This is, right now, is more than likely, it's the best you've got. There aren't going to be any major breakthroughs or anything like that. And even if it were, someone would come along and they would exploit that as well and ruin that for everybody else. Because when you have the absolute endless obsession that America has with profit, well, that kind of puts the brakes on anything really good happening. As far as I don't know, getting rid of poverty and all the other shit again, that's an endless nightmare, homelessness, the fucking list goes on and on and on. And I'm telling you all this because these are my perceptions. And I have, this is not my first time to this rodeo. Okay. So yeah, I mean, unless there are huge changes in that the likes that we have never seen, and the only thing, sadly, that's going to bring that about is a really, really horrific experience. Because, and here's another law you can throw in there that I happen to know about, the circus, is that people generally don't even begin to wake up and do anything sane unless it's by force. It's always force, whether it's disease, plague, shit like that, incredible resource shortages, such as water, just wars and conflicts and things such as that. And when people go through enough of that, and they're dying in the tens of millions or dropping like flies, or they've utterly bombed each other, back to the fucking Stone Age, unless people are inconvenienced, unless they're hurt, them and their families and their children, just tens of thousands or perhaps hundreds of thousands of them just wiped out. And that's what it seems, what I've, what I've seen and what I've studied. That's what you at least get a temporary reprieve from all the, well, circus, the circus of existence. And that has been our history as a species, let's say. That's what we do. So anything else, and I mean virtually anything, especially things that are developed out of complexity of the machine, because the more complex and the bigger your society becomes, and the more complex it becomes, the more it breaks. In other words, you put off one thing, you buy some time by increasing your level of technology or complexity, but it isn't long before it comes back, whatever the original problem was, or it springs another huge problem, and the cycle just keeps going and going. And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. And what I could say something here really crazy. This is going to sound laughable. Get ready for a huge laugh here. Um, think about this. Think about having an existence where there's just plenty of pristine everything. You got beautiful land, you got a beautiful home, you got clean water, clean air. The list just goes on and on and on and on. You've got it all, not crazy, worried about fiercely competing for jobs and a few more crumbs from the welfare table and all that shit, the circus, all of it. It could be gone. I can't say it would be gone tomorrow, but it could certainly be gone. You'd put a big dent in it within, say, as little as a decade. You would see things, radically improve. But there's a catch. There's always a catch. And the catch to that, in order for that to happen, and the only way that's going to happen is you gotta have a lot less people. So that goes full circle back to the original problem. We get up to this point, and particularly in population, and for quite a few years now, they're saying, well, actually, the population, people are having fewer children and so forth, and they're trying to give that reassuring spin on the whole population issue and all that. And technically, yes, that may be true, but just because the rate has slowed down doesn't have a fucking hill of beans to do that there are far, 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 far still too many people here. So you're either going to eliminate all these people somehow. So historically, it's either been massive and continuous wars, or plagues, or natural disasters, or some combination of all those things. But by hook or by crook, if you don't do that, the circus continues. And, for right now, that's really just all I wanted to say about the circus. So, there you have it. All right. If you found this episode informative or entertaining, please give me the ultimate thank you by subscribing and telling a friend. And if you want to hear something really different, head on over to my website and click on the podcast page in the description below, where, unlike YouTube, I have the freedom to say not just what I want, but the way I want to. As always, until next time, this is Ernest, and that's all I've got for today.